Coming up this week, Claude adds new MCP support for Figma, Google gives us 3 impressive new Gemini features, a new tool that will give you your own personal chief of staff, and a new study explains why you should think twice before sending AI-generated documents at work. Stay tuned for all of that and more, and as always, if you enjoy the briefing, hit the subscribe and the like button. So first up this week, Claude has added support for a new MCP connector with a Figma integration that could be helpful for designers and developers. This new MCP connector can view Figma mockups at the data level, so things like components, design tokens, and layout rules, and then translate this into production-ready code. Figma has also confirmed that it now supports MCP on Figma Make, which is its Lovable competitor. This makes it easier for non-designers to mock up prototypes in Make that match design systems set up in Figma. Early feedback for these new MCP servers is pretty mixed, with some suggesting that this could mark the end of traditional front-end development, and others saying that Figma only works if it's configured properly. Here's an example of how this performs in action from designer Peter Assentorp. So in this example, you can see this is the design of the pricing page, and this is the output that Claude Code created. Overall, he says that there are a few details missing, with pricing centered when it should be left aligned, but as a quick prototype, it works surprisingly well. In other news, Perplexity has launched a new email assistant, which could come in handy for product teams. You can add the Perplexity email assistant to any thread, and it will check availability, suggest meeting times, and send calendar invites. It can also read your inbox and automatically label and organize your emails, and even auto-draft responses that match your existing tone and style. But here's the catch. The new assistant is only available for Max users who pay $200 a month, which is 10x the price of alternatives like Superhuman. If the most useful features of products like Perplexity are gate-kept behind these sky-high $200 paywalls, presumably because they are expensive to run, then what exactly does this say about the unit economics and future viability of AI companies like Perplexity? Are you willing to pay $200 to get early access to features like this? Let me know in the comments below. And speaking of AI features and their potential for generating new revenues, if you're interested in learning more about new AI features that product teams are shipping, then check out this week's deep dive over on Substack. In this deep dive, I take a look at over 30 different new AI features that have been released this past quarter from leading companies including YouTube, Pinterest, Notion, Zendesk, and more. For each feature, you'll get a breakdown of how it works, along with a link to find out more information. Categories include AI agents, productivity boosters, UX enhancers, and revenue boosters. So if you're interested in learning more about what new AI features leading tech companies are releasing, then check out this new deep dive report over on the Department of Product Substack. Elsewhere this week, Google gave us 3 significant new Gemini updates that are worth knowing about. First, Google is starting the rollout of Gemini in Chrome to all workspace users, and Gemini in Chrome is essentially Google's version of an AI browser that can perform most of the tasks of other AI browsers like Deer and Comet, such as summarizing web pages and referencing content across multiple tabs. To coincide with the rollout, Chrome is getting a development MCP server, which could be helpful for product and engineering teams to debug issues in tools like Cursor and Claude Code. In this example, the MCP server is analyzing the performance of a website and then suggesting some improvements. Google also revealed an updated version of its Gemini Live Voice APIs. According to the product managers who worked on this release, this new version is twice as good at successfully calling the right functions, and also has new features which make it sound more natural and fluid, such as pausing in the right place, plus an improvement in barge-in recognition, so where a user interrupts the AI voice assistant. The new models could be super helpful for product teams who are considering building AI-powered voice customer support channels. And thirdly, Google's Live Search is finally starting to get released across the US. This new way to search lets you select the Live button and then start a conversation with your camera switched on to get answers to questions. So in this example, a user is using Google Live Search to find out how to set up and install a new TV. These new ways to search are likely to accelerate the ongoing decline of traditional organic Google traffic that could impact how SaaS companies in particular get their organic users. Stay tuned for some new data on that later. But not to be outdone by Google and other AI companies, Microsoft this week unleashed a bunch of new agentic tools designed to tackle tech debt. Revealed at its Migrate and Modernize conference, these new tools include new capabilities in GitHub Copilot, which analyze your codebase, suggest safe migration paths, and then build those changes. Microsoft says that these new tools are already significantly reducing the amount of time it would previously take to address tech debt issues and migrate to new versions of programming languages. Now let's take a look at some tools you can use, and the first tool this week is something called Ambient. Now this is a product that is supposed to be targeted towards CEOs, but I don't see why other users might not benefit from this as well. This tool is described as your AI chief of staff that preps you for every meeting, keeps your team accountable and aligned, and helps you stay on top of key initiatives. So essentially, what this does is it scours all of your internal and external data sources and then uses this to create a daily brief, which gives you a quick update on what's happening both in your company and in the wider market. So if you're looking for new ways to stay up to date, then Ambient could be worth checking out. Next is a vibe coding product with a difference called ToolJet. And the reason this is different is because this is specifically designed for teams who want to build their own full-stack internal apps. So as anyone who's ever worked in a tech company knows, a lot of engineering time can sometimes be spent on building internal apps. And the purpose of this startup is to allow both engineers and non-engineers to vibe code their own apps that they can use internally. So if you're currently grappling with figuring out how to build your own internal apps as well as your core product, then check out ToolJet. And the final product for this week is something called Architect. Now this is specifically designed for people who want to understand their code base and systems architecture, and is ideal for whiteboarding sessions with engineers when you want to get to grips with technical concepts quickly. Architect essentially visualizes code bases and transforms them into these easy to follow diagrams. In this example, you can see how it's done this with Spotify's technical architecture, and it lays out all of the different microservices and databases that architecture uses. So if you're someone who likes to get to grip with the technical architecture of your own product, but sometimes find it overwhelming, then this new product Architect could be worth checking out. Now let's take a look at some data and trends for the week. And one of the most important reports that was released this week is the annual DORA report on the state of AI-assisted software development. This report shows that 90% of software development professionals are now using AI at work, with 80% of respondents saying that AI adoption has increased their productivity. Engineers are increasingly finding AI-generated code valuable, but on the flip side, this doesn't necessarily correlate with an increase in trustworthiness. Just 4% of those surveyed say that they have a great deal of trust in AI-generated code, with 30% saying that they trust it a little or not at all. Other stats from the report worth knowing about include the stat that only 16% of companies are deploying to production multiple times a day. A median of 2 hours a day is spent using AI tools at work. Just 1% of respondents say that they never use AI to solve a problem. And writing new code is the most common use case for engineers who do use AI at 60%. One company who's struggling to roll out its own AI code generating product is Amazon. This week, a new report suggests that Amazon's AI engineering product Q is lagging behind its rivals with projected annual revenues of just 16.3 million. Leaked Slack messages show that Amazon's own employees are now turning to tools like Cursor instead. Elsewhere, 5,000 Citigroup staff are set to get access to AI agents as part of a trial that will last 4 to 6 weeks. The tasks assigned to AI agents will typically take a few minutes, but the vision is to eventually assign tasks to agents that could take hours. When asked whether this means that they will need less people, Citigroup's CTO said, "I don't know. It certainly means we would get a lot more work done, and we'll see how the workforce evolves with that massive boost of capacity that we're getting." And while we're on the topic of applied AI in the enterprise space, the FT ran a new piece this week on the perceived benefits of AI adoption in enterprises. In this piece, they show that market differentiation is the most common benefit of introducing AI in large companies, and the most common concern is security. Now, I'm not surprised at all that security is the top concern, but I am a little bit surprised that market differentiation is classed as one of the biggest benefits of AI. This new analysis shows that actually enterprise companies are now pretty much selling all of the same AI solutions across the board. This diagram shows that actually, rather than being a differentiator, in enterprise products at least, most of these companies are actually just building the same thing, albeit at different speeds. Nevertheless, that report from the FT is definitely worth a look if you're interested in learning more about the perceived effectiveness of AI adoption in the workplace. And speaking of the FT, new analysis this week shows that there's been a 25 to 30% reduction in Google search traffic to news websites, including the FT. According to this new analysis, the FT is experiencing a 25 to 30% reduction in visitors from Google search, with the Daily Mail experiencing a massive 89% drop in visitors from Google search. What impact could all of this have on SaaS? Well, App Monetization SaaS product Revenue Cat says that 35% of its new signups now come from AI search products, no doubt accelerated by the decline in organic visits. And finally this week, while employees say that AI makes them more productive, a new Harvard Business Review study shows that 40% of respondents had encountered what they call work slop. So in this case, work slop is content or other artifacts that appear to be polished but lack real substance. Researchers estimate that work slop incidents cost $186 a month, and 37% of workers who receive this work slop view the colleague who sent it as less intelligent. What do you think? Are you somebody who sends this so-called work slop, or are you someone who judges others when you receive it? Let me know in the comments below. And on that note, I'll leave it there for this week. Thanks very much for listening and watching. I'll be back next week with another briefing.